So today I want to talk about something that most people do not want to hear. But if you have been following my analysis, if you understand how empires actually rise and fall, then what I am about to tell you should not surprise you. It should concern you, because there is a pattern to how empires die. A clear, observable, repeatable pattern that has played out dozens of times throughout history. And America is now at stage 4 of that 5-stage process. Let me walk you through each stage carefully, because once you see the pattern, once you understand where America is in this cycle, you will understand why so many of the things happening right now, things that seem chaotic or confusing, are actually completely predictable. This is not about politics. This is not about ideology. This is about structural patterns that repeat regardless of who is in power or what policies are implemented. Stage 1 is expansion and dominance. This is when an empire is rising. Its military is unmatched. Its economy is growing faster than its rivals. Its culture is spreading globally. Its currency is becoming the medium of international trade. And most importantly, the empire is generating more wealth than it is spending. It is running surpluses, not deficits. It is accumulating resources, not consuming them. Think about Rome during the Republic. Think about Britain in the 1800s. Think about America from 1945 to approximately 1970. This was American expansion. America emerged from World War II as the only major industrial power that was not destroyed. American manufacturing dominated global markets. The dollar became the global reserve currency. American military power was overwhelming. And America was creditor to the world, not debtor. America was lending money, not borrowing it. This is stage 1. And it is characterized by genuine strength, not the appearance of strength. Stage 2 is peak and overextension. This is when the empire reaches its maximum territorial, economic, and military extent. But here's the crucial detail that most people miss. The empire looks strongest at exactly the moment when the internal contradictions that will eventually destroy it are becoming embedded. On the surface, everything looks magnificent. The empire controls vast territories. Its military has bases everywhere. Its currency is universally accepted. But underneath, the costs of maintaining this empire are starting to exceed the benefits. Think about Rome at the height of its territorial expansion under Trajan. Think about Britain at the end of the Victorian era when the sun never set on the British Empire. Think about America in the 1990s after the Soviet Union collapsed. America looked unbeatable. The unipolar moment. The end of history. American supremacy seemed permanent. But what was actually happening? America was overextending. Military commitments were proliferating. The costs of global dominance were rising, and the economy was shifting from production to financialization. America was starting to borrow to maintain its lifestyle rather than producing to earn it. Stage 3 is denial and financial manipulation. This is when the empire can no longer afford its commitments through genuine productivity, so it starts using financial tricks to maintain the appearance of strength. The empire runs persistent deficits. It borrows constantly. It debases its currency. It uses its financial and monetary dominance to extract wealth from other nations rather than generating wealth through production. And most importantly, the political class denies that anything is wrong. They insist that deficits do not matter, that debt is sustainable, that everything is fine. Think about Rome in the 3rd century when emperors were debasing the silver content of coins to pay the legions. Think about Britain after World War I when it was desperately trying to maintain the pound sterling as the global reserve currency despite no longer having the economic base to support it. And think about America from roughly 2000 until now. America has run deficits every single year. The national debt has exploded from $5 trillion to $39 trillion. The Federal Reserve has printed trillions of dollars. And the political class, both parties, insist this is sustainable. We are told the dollar is strong because it is the reserve currency. We are told deficits do not matter because we can always borrow more. This is stage 3, denial and manipulation. Stage 4 is crisis and retrenchment. This is where America is right now. This is when external shocks expose the unsustainability of the empire's financial position. Wars that were supposed to be quick and cheap become long and expensive. Allies that were supposed to be loyal start hedging. Enemies that were supposed to be deterred become bold. And the mechanisms that allowed the empire to borrow cheaply start breaking down. Think about Rome in the 4th century when barbarian invasions were constant, when the empire split into East and West, when the costs of defense became unbearable. Think about Britain after World War II when it could no longer afford its empire, when India gained independence, when the pound lost its reserve status. And think about America right now. The war in the Middle East was supposed to be quick. Iran was supposed to be deterred. The Strait of Hormuz was supposed to stay open. But none of that happened. Instead, America is bogged down in an expensive, open-ended conflict. The petrodollar system is cracking. Allies are questioning American reliability, and the national debt is becoming a genuine constraint. This is stage 4. The illusions are breaking. The costs are becoming undeniable, and the empire is being forced to make choices it could previously avoid. Does America keep fighting expensive wars it cannot afford? Or does it pull back and accept diminished global influence? Does America keep printing money and risk hyperinflation? Or does it cut spending and accept economic contraction? Every choice at stage 4 is painful. There are no good options left, only less bad ones. And then there is stage 5. Collapse and fragmentation. This is when the empire either fragments into smaller pieces or gets conquered by rising powers. Rome was sacked. Britain lost its empire and became a secondary power. Stage 5 is not always violent. Sometimes it is relatively peaceful, but it is always irreversible. Once an empire reaches stage 5, it never recovers its previous position. Now here is what I want you to understand very clearly. America has not reached stage 5 yet. America is at stage 4, and stage 4 can last for decades. Rome spent over a century in stage 4. Britain spent roughly 30 years between the world wars in stage 4 before finally accepting its diminished status after World War II. So America is not collapsing tomorrow, but the trajectory is set. And unless something fundamental changes, unless America makes dramatic structural adjustments, stage 5 is inevitable. So what are the signs that America is in stage 4? Let me give you the specific markers. First, persistent structural deficits that cannot be closed without radical spending cuts or tax increases that are politically impossible. America runs trillion-dollar deficits every year now. Not during crises, every year. The Congressional Budget Office projects deficits as far as anyone can model. There is no plan to balance the budget. There is not even a pretense of trying. Second, the national debt growing faster than the economy. When debt grows faster than GDP, you are on an unsustainable path. Basic mathematics. America's debt to GDP ratio is over 120% and rising. During stage 1, this ratio was under 40%. The trajectory is clear. Third, the reserve currency status being actively challenged. For decades, there was no alternative to the dollar. Now there are multiple alternatives being built simultaneously. The yuan, the euro, even discussions of BRICS currencies. The dollar is still dominant, but that dominance is eroding. And once it starts eroding, the process accelerates because it is based on perception and trust. Fourth, military overextension with declining effectiveness. America has troops in over 80 countries, military bases in over 70 countries, and yet America cannot achieve decisive victories anymore. The wars in Iraq and Afghanistan lasted 20 years and ended in withdrawal. The current conflict with Iran has no clear end in sight. America is spending more on its military than ever, but accomplishing less. This is the definition of declining marginal returns. Fifth, domestic political paralysis. Empires in stage 4 become ungovernable. The political system cannot make the hard choices necessary to reverse decline because every choice alienates some powerful constituency, so nothing gets done. Problems accumulate, and the dysfunctional governance becomes self-reinforcing. Does this sound familiar? Sixth, loss of elite cohesion. In stage 1, the ruling elite is unified around a common vision. By stage 4, the elite is fragmented into warring factions fighting over control of a shrinking pie. I have explained before how America's elite has split into competing groups: finance versus technology, Democrats versus Republicans, establishment versus populists. This fragmentation is a classic stage 4 marker. Seventh, and this is crucial, the population losing faith in the system. In stage 1, people believe in the empire. They believe their sacrifices serve a greater purpose. By stage 4, cynicism is pervasive. People do not trust institutions. They do not believe the future will be better than the past. Social cohesion breaks down, and the empire cannot mobilize its population for collective action anymore. Now let me talk about what happens next. Because the question everyone asks is, can America avoid stage 5? Can America reverse the decline? The honest answer is theoretically yes, but practically very unlikely. Here is why. Reversing imperial decline requires making choices that are economically rational, but politically impossible. America would need to cut military spending by perhaps 50%. Withdraw from most overseas commitments. Accept a multipolar world where America is one power among several, not the dominant superpower. This would be economically rational. It would free up resources for infrastructure, education, debt reduction, but it is politically impossible because it requires admitting decline. And no political leader wins elections by promising managed decline. America would need to raise taxes significantly or cut entitlement spending dramatically to close the deficit. This is arithmetic. You cannot run trillion-dollar deficits forever. But raising taxes enough to close a trillion-dollar gap would destroy economic growth. And cutting Social Security or Medicare would trigger immediate political suicide. So neither happens. The deficits continue. America would need to rebuild its industrial base, shift from financialization back to production. But this would require accepting lower consumption in the short term to build capacity for the long term. American voters would need to accept a lower material standard of living for perhaps a decade while the economy restructures. This is what China did. But China is not a democracy. China's government could impose short-term pain for long-term gain. American democracy cannot do this. Any leader who tried would be voted out immediately. So you see the trap. Everything that would actually reverse American decline is politically impossible. And everything that is politically possible will not reverse the decline. This is the fundamental characteristic of Stage 4. The empire is trapped by its own institutions and incentive structures. Subscribe for more analysis on the patterns of imperial decline and what it means for your future explained clearly. And tell me in the comments, do you think America can break this historical pattern, or is decline now inevitable? I will see you next time. Let me leave you with one final observation. History does not repeat exactly, but it rhymes. And right now, America rhymes very loudly with every empire that has ever entered Stage 4. The denial, the financial manipulation, the military overextension, the political paralysis, the loss of faith. All of it is textbook Stage 4, and everyone who studies imperial history knows what comes after Stage 4. The only question is how long it takes and how painful the transition is.